This video is brought to you by patreon.com/worsttake. Get access to exclusive live streams and Discord servers, on-screen shoutouts, and early access to some videos when you join now. Help make sure that we can continue to make content like this by supporting the Patreon. Links are in the description down below.
That I always talk about the Browns season in the context that you would talk about seasons of a TV show. If you're familiar with the hero's arc or 3-act structure, you would also be familiar, and I'm talking about storytelling in general, you will also be familiar with the all is lost moment. And even if you aren't familiar with those technical terms, I'll tell you what the all is lost moment is. And I know that you're all familiar with the all is lost moment because y'all watch superhero movies. And you know the part in the superhero movie where everybody's losing their fight, Thanos starts smacking dudes and all of this other stuff, and then Tony Stark get his suit broken up, and then WandaVision gets all crushed up, and it just looks like all is lost. The heroes will lose 20 minutes before the movie ends. This is the Cleveland Browns all is lost moment for 2023. Will they bounce back from this and get back on track to what you wanted them to get to? Or will they let this be what ended up being a point in the season where we were like, okay, it's over? Which one is this team going to choose? And are they even going to have the opportunity to choose which fate that they want? Because there are a couple of blows that happen in this game that you cannot afford if you're a Cleveland Browns fan or on the Cleveland Browns period, right? There are a couple of blows that, look, this season has survived a lot, but this would kill it. If Myles Garrett is hurt for the season, that's it. It's done, right? If Cooper is hurt for the season, that's it. It's done. You can't survive those two blows. Now, I don't believe that those two players are even close to being out for the season. We'll see what the injury report says on Wednesday, but that would be too much at that point, right? I am as optimistic, I guess, or as pragmatic as anybody. I'm not about to sit here and tell you if Myles Garrett gets hurt for the season, we're going to go on some kind of miracle run. That you can't lose all three of your franchise players in the season and expect shit to go well. Like, that would be all three. That would be your franchise running back, your franchise quarterback, your franchise player. You can't afford that. You need Myles to be healthy. Whatever was going on with Myles, he could not lift his hand. Like, he couldn't do this on his right shoulder. And we know that shoulder has had issues because that's the shoulder he hurt in the car accident, I believe, because he's always had that wrap there since. So hopefully shit's okay with that, but we'll see. But this is the Browns all is lost moment, right? They could bounce back from this and be a really good team and get to 8-4, and we're laughing about the Broncos game the same way that we laughed about the Ravens game. Now, back to the point of this game. I did not like a few things in this game. Now, just because I don't like a performance in this game by any individual player or coach does not mean I'm advocating for that player to be fired. And I would hope that we're at a point as fans to where we're not doing that, right? Like, just because David Njoku has a rough game, we want him benched. Or just because Kevin Stefanski has a rough game, we want him fired or demoted, right? Like, we can't keep doing that. And that's not at all what I'm advocating for, but there were things that I did not like in this game. Kevin should have ran the ball more. We all know that Kevin should have ran the ball more. You look at what DTR was able to do in there, and I like what you were able to get done with DTR in this offense. I thought DTR moved the ball well. I thought DTR was making some good throws, especially in the beginning of the third quarter and the end of at the end of the second. Thought he made some quality throws in this game. He was 14 of 29. He had like 5 drops. One of those drops were a touchdown, but he ended up getting it back with Harrison Bryant. And he was at 134. and a touchdown. He had the same amount of production as like Russell Wilson did in this game, and a pretty decent quarterback rating as well. So I thought that the offense was moving well enough once DTR was in there. Once he got hurt, I thought it went to wacko world. And while DTR was in there, I don't think that the play calling was too awful. Like, I thought that it was just a balanced play call sheet. I know that the broadcast really wanted the Browns to run the ball like every play. And I don't think that that would have been a good strategy either, but I thought that they should have leaned on the run just a little bit more because it felt like they were putting too much on DTR's plate to the point to where he puts himself in a position to take that hit that he took that took him out. And that's been a consistent issue with the flow of the play calling and with the quarterbacks, that we get to this point to where we're putting too much into the hands of quarterbacks that should not be asked to do that, right? This happened with Baker Mayfield, who, again, I can see how you can end up in that. People wanted to believe he was a franchise quarterback, but he's not a franchise quarterback. And at times we were putting games in his hands as if he was, and it went predictably in a negative direction. Same thing happened with DTR, where we're just asking too much out of him. And I thought that he lived up to most of what you were asking him to do. He also had 21 rushing yards in this game, but I think a couple first down conversions with that. Yeah, I thought DTR played pretty good, all things considered. I think that there's a lot more to get out of him. I hope he can clear concussion protocol and play, because I really, really do believe that kid's probably our best chance to win at the quarterback position, more so than like Joe Flacco. Because at this point, like, we could throw Joe Flacco in there, it could look like PJ Walker. Like, there's no guarantee what Joe Flacco looks like. At 38, he's won 3 games in his last 17 starts. I would not fall into the trap of thinking that Joe Flacco is this guaranteed thing. I really wouldn't. I think there's a lot to be concerned to with that, but I would love to be wrong. It seems like he's probably going to play next week. We'll see what it is. We'll see what the injury report is. And I think on top of like recognizing what went wrong in this game, that's also the most important thing, is like, hey, we got to get to Wednesday and see what this injury report's going to look like. Who's making the trip to LA? Who's not? Right? Because there's a lot of stuff going on. And again, this is a all is lost moment for the Cleveland Browns, the same way that you see in superhero movies like The Avengers. Everybody's hurt, all of this stuff. Are you going to rally together for one final charge to win this season and get to where you want it to be? Or are you going to let it overtake you and let the bad guys win? That's where the Browns are with their season. Again, if I'm pointing out things that went wrong in this game, it feels like bullying to talk about PJ Walker. Like, he just was bad. He was bad in this game. He knows he was bad. Like, he fumbled the ball like 4 times. He was awful. Like, there's no doubt about it. But at that point, nobody expected PJ Walker to be good. He was 6 of 13, 56 yards, and it was much worse than that. Much, much worse than that stat line approves. He made like 1 or 2 good throws, but everything else is just god awful in that game. And I'm somebody who is supportive of PJ Walker, and I'm telling you this. So no, I'm not tripping on that one. David Njoku could have had a better game. I thought Cedric Tillman played well. Elijah Moore and Amari Cooper, even before Amari got hurt, he was bad in this one. Like, I don't know if it was Pat Surtain that was throwing him off, but Coop was bad in this one, right? And he's probably going to bounce back. You know, Coop's good for it. But he had a bad one in this one. Thought Kevin called like just way too many trick plays in this one, especially when DTR in the regular offense was able to drive so consistently down the field. I just didn't see the need to resort to all of the trick plays that they did, especially that double end around that wasn't even there. It was a bad play call. It changed the game, but let's be real. What changed the game more was the injuries, right? Like, we can point to that play call and say that that's what changed the game, but I think we all know that goes differently if DTR doesn't get hurt. That goes differently if Miles is 100%. If all of those things were true, I think it ends a little bit differently. But we'll see what this team has going forward, because it can go either way, right? You know, these injuries can not bounce your way. Things can go awfully wrong. All of this stuff can be true and you be done. Oh, another guy, let's talk about some guys who had some good games before we get out of here, right? Thought JOK was good in this one. And I'll have more detail on this once I do my my winners and losers tomorrow morning. But JOK is the one standout in this game, had a sack, 2 tackle for losses. I thought in general, this Browns defense and this Browns team came out for this game with a pretty lackadaisical mindset. Like, it just didn't seem focused. They didn't seem locked in. And that happens when you win a couple in a row. You really don't want to see that happen all the time, but it happens. They came out kind of not really super focused. I think that's why you had all those drops. I think that's why you had all those penalties early in this game. Not a super disciplined game by the Cleveland Browns. We'll see what they come in next week. They're going to spend the whole week in Los Angeles, and hopefully that changes stuff for the Cleveland Browns. Like, hopefully that does change stuff, and they're able to kind of lock in and treat it like a home game and play with that same home effort, because I do think you could beat the Rams if the defense shows up. We'll see who's playing at quarterback. We'll see everything else, but it's going to be a grind. It's going to be a grind for the rest of the season. We kind of know this, but that's my thoughts on this game. I thought Kevin had a bad play calling game. I thought the offense and the defense, I thought in general, this team, I don't think anybody's super proud of what they put on the field today. Other than JOK, I really don't see how anybody is super proud of the performance that they put on the field. And it's hard to just blame that on one person. I think everybody kind of had a bad one. And that happens every once in a while. I pointed this out in the stream. The Chiefs lost to the Broncos, ironically enough. The Eagles have lost to the Jets. Like, every once in a while you get caught like the Browns got caught today. And it looks really bad. But at the end of the day, it's just one game and it only counts for one. And if you win next week, you're 8-4 and y'all back on the train. So let's just take a breather. Take a little bit of a chill pill, relax, get into next week, see what this injury report is going to look like. And if the Browns can win this game next week, that's going to be a big deal for them. They're going to be 8-4 with a good chance to make the playoffs. But everything's ahead of them. They can afford to lose a game. This is why you want to win those games back to back. Just in case you drop a game like this, you can be okay because you won against Baltimore. You won against Pittsburgh. So Browns are still in a good place. You want them to win next week, but this is why you won and got to 7-3, to build a cushion just in case things got to this point to where you're going to be a little iffy for a couple weeks. So you're still in a good place. Y'all have a great day. Have an even better night. Peace.